And with that, the magic number now is 12. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Fighting's Final postseason edition with your boy, Matty B, joined by my, or I guess it's the other way, joined by my Fighting's Final counterpart, one of them, Big Al. Al, 4-1, Phillies find themselves up 1-0 in the National League Wild Card Series. Pitching clinic by Zach Wheeler. Phillies offense did just enough to get the win.
Absolutely. It's exactly what you wanted from Zach Wheeler. Like you said, a pitching clinic, and the team was hitting up and down the lineup. But real quick, we got to jump right into it. We're bringing in Rock Hoffman. You've read his articles here at EOP Sports. Plenty of Phillies articles. You've seen him here. He is joining us down from CBP. Rock, what is going on, my friend? How is it down there?
Well, as you can imagine, it's electric. You could just feel it even walking into the ballpark tonight. Just the electric atmosphere here at Citizens Bank Park. And, the Phillies, they got a couple guys on the first, and, has been times this season haven't been able to take advantage of opportunities. Didn't so in that first, but then they did take advantage of a couple wild pitches to get some runs in the middle innings and make that stand up. And like you guys said, Zach Wheeler was outstanding pitching into the 7th inning. And, he absolutely sailed through the first 6 innings. Only giving up 2 hits, both of which were off of infielders' gloves, so it wasn't like they were crushed or anything. And then he ran into some trouble in the 7th, and the bullpen came in and got the job done. Jose Alvarado closed out that 7th and pitched in the 8th. Jeff Hoffman got one out in the 8th. And then Craig Kimbrell came in and was Craig Kimbrell in the 9th.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question quickly. You're in the press box. They're not able to get those first couple of guys across. What was it like there? Were you like, we don't like the start of this? Like, was there any nervousness, or just, how was the overall feeling in that moment?
I don't think, the fans were pretty into it all game, so I don't think there was any sense of disappointment or anything like that. Just, they just didn't get the job done at that point. And then really, I was impressed by what Rojas was able to do by getting into position there. He was on first on that first wild pitch in the 3rd inning. And Schwarber was at the plate, and he held up the stop sign. But, it's just great instincts on Rojas' part to go the second the ball kind of bounced away because it didn't go far. And he was able to get into second base without a throw, and then ultimately scored from there to put the Phillies up 1-0. And then they got a 3rd run in the next inning off of another wild pitch.
Hey, Rock, real quick, in the bottom of the 1st inning with Schwarber on 3rd and the lazy fly ball to right field by Alec Bohm, there was some controversy. The angles on TV weren't really conclusive. But the Schwarber did not tag and score. What was the angles down there at CBP? Was it the right move not to send him at that point? What did you see?
Well, I think it was. He did tag, but Dusty Wofford put up the stop sign, which in the 8th, Bryce Harper would blow through for the insurance run. He blew through that like a kid riding a dirt bike in the streets of South Philly or something. And that was a little bit of insurance run there to make it 4-1. But yeah, he did tag, but Dusty Wofford put up the stop sign. At that point, with nobody out, I think it was the smart play. Figuring we've got, Bryce Harper coming up and Real Muto after that. So, a chance to get a big inning there, and you don't want to run into it out at the plate. So I think that was the smart call.
Real quick, Rock, I know you got to get going in a moment because you got to run down. So I'll ask you one last question here. The man they're interviewing on TV right now is Trey Turner. The turnaround from Trey Turner, we continue to talk about it. It started in August with fans cheering for him. It has not stopped since.
No.
At this point, like, is this a magical thing? Like, what do you think? What made the turnaround happen in your eyes?
Philly fans have that reputation of being tough, and I think they wanted to, maybe change that reputation a little bit. So, you know what? He's our guy. He's here for 10 more years. He's not going anywhere. So we may as well learn to love him, right? So I think that they just, as a group, elected to do that. And I think it's really galvanized the whole team, really. Not just Trey Turner, because they realize, hey, these people really are behind us. I mean, they're hard on us. We're hard on ourselves as players, but they're hard on us. But push comes to shove, they've got our backs. I think the players believe that, feel that, and I think that was Exhibit A of that.
Yeah. Guys, it's Rock Hoffman joining us from the press box down at Citizens Bank Park, part of Football Stories, as well as you'll see his story here on EOP Sports once it's up and running after the show, after this finals over. Rock, we appreciate you stopping by. I know you had to go. I know we only had you for a short time. We look forward to talking to you further into the postseason, deep run, hopefully into October, late October, early November, my friend.
November, yep. We'll be back tomorrow night for Game 2.
All right, brother. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
See you, Rock. Guys, that was Rock Hoffman. Like I said, Football Stories. He was live at CBP, sitting in my chair. I'm just kidding, sitting there at CBP. And
Really good skill.
yeah, I'm just kidding. I was messing with him earlier. But no, as we can hear, you can hear it does. The fact is that he was sitting in the press box. I've heard it get loud in there, but as loud as it was, that goes to show you how that stadium is, and it's no joke what they talked about last year, and it's no joke what they're bringing again this year. And what else is not a joke is Sherry'sTickets.com. That's right, Sherry'sTickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Sherry's Tickets is the place to get tickets. I don't care, concerts, sports, theaters, you name it, but we're talking Philly playoff tickets. They're there. They're available. Sherry'sTickets.com. Great prices. No hidden fees. You're not going to go through, all right, these are affordable, and then bam, $150, $200 on top of it all. Nope. Sherry'sTickets.com. The price you see on the screen is the price you'll pay, unless you use that promo code and you'll pay even less. 10% less, that is. EOP10 promo code will save you 10% off at Sherry'sTickets.com. Check it out. Sherry'sTickets.com.
Can't stop Big Al when he gets rolling. You just hope to contain him. Yeah, Al, listen. Tonight, 45 strong.
Baby Rhino Al over here.
Yeah. 45,000 strong at CBP. Definitely making their voices heard. Al, listen, I was a big fan all season long for the Eagles. I've been waiting for that big first offensive touchdown drive. Tonight, I was waiting for that big first inning from the Phillies. Thought we were going to get it. Schwarber got things going with the single. Moved on up to third base on the bone or on the Turner double. The Phillies then sputtered out as they have typically done all season out. And really for the better part of this game, we remarked on off stage or off air. Really, this game should not have been 4-1. 6-1, maybe 7-1, but enough. And then they were backed by an outstanding pitching effort by ZACK Wheeler. I want to get your opinion on a couple things. First of all, the roster heading into the postseason, we really haven't had an opportunity to talk about that. Michael Lorenzen off of it, Christian Pache and Johan Rojas in it. Matter of fact, they're starting tonight. Brandon Marsh is on the bench. Both of them definitely made their impact in this game. Start with Johan Rojas, the big play offensively. Then he got the big single. Pache with the big RBI. Talk to me about the two of their contributions, not only tonight, but since they've joined this team in the season. Again, they are part of why we're here at this moment in the season.
Well, I mean, a couple things. I'll answer the first part of the question. The fact that Lorenzen's not in here speaks actually volumes to this team, because the team could have simply said, hey, listen, we traded for him. He had that no-hitter. We're going to ride him. We're going to give him another chance. No, they didn't, and they gave the youth a chance when usually teams in this position tend not to lean that way. So I give the Phillies as an organization, Tomper and anybody else making the decisions at that point, a little kudos, because it's not an easy decision to make, because Lorenzen is a good pitcher normally, but since that no-hitter has been just not good at all. Like, it's not even like pedestrian, mediocre. It's not good at all. And I can't see him helping in the bullpen. I couldn't see him helping starting. So why put him on there when you have guys like Hoffman, who's a good story, like Kirkering, who's been, a great story, just amazing. I mean, a guy can come up in 1 week and go into the postseason, something you don't often see. But talking about Pache and Rojas, I mean, Pache came into this season, if everybody remembers, he was a top MLB prospect for a while. He was with the Braves, and then we got him from the A's. And, it was like the guy who maybe was just not going to live up to the hype, and maybe he'll never live up to the hype as a number one prospect would normally. But he is definitely new scenery has been good for him. Working with the Phillies batting coaches seemed to make it, because he was there was never any question in his defense and his playing in the field. But the batting has been much better. He seems more relaxed at the plate. Doesn't seem like the moment's too big for him. And a lot can be said the same thing about Johan Rojas. Since coming up and making one dazzling defensive assist, and just never seeming to be overwhelmed. The guy would sit for 4, 5, 6 games before he played again, and then he would play a few games in a row, and it didn't seem like that made a difference for him. So with both of them, Pache having an RBI and a single, Rojas stole base, scored a run. That's what teams need to win, not just games, but win series, and not just series, win championships. You need it from up and down this lineup, because you had Schwarber and Turner in the beginning, and then it was Bohm into the third. But after that, it was kind of quiet for a little bit into the fourth, fifth, and sixth. And then we're talking about the meat of the lineup here. You got your Bohm, your Harper, your Romuto. They started coming around. And again, I'll show you my notes here. I mean, it may not come up on the screen, but I blue, red and orange for my color coding for scoring and all that stuff. And you could see it up and down the notes here that the team did produce up and down the lineup, but it started with the youth movement. Yeah. And when Pache had that hit, they of course, like usual, they panned to the dugout, and you see guys doing the little handshaking gestures and smacking the sides and everything. The one who was front and center was Brandon Marsh, who you might have thought not happy with the situation. I want to start, but he seemed to be okay. And we talked about this when we in the green room when we were talking throughout the day and figuring things out about what's going on. And when they announced that Pache and Rojas were both starting, and Pache was starting over Brandon Marsh, I said maybe it's the pitching matchup. They'll take him out when the righty comes in, and they did that. So maybe it's going to be a platoon type thing. But in my eyes, you don't lose anything in defense, and you may gain a little bit in offense. And here's my thing is, say Brandon Marsh starts picking it up big time and gets hot, I think they'll leave him in. I don't know this will be the whole postseason, but for right now, it's the way it seems it's going to be.
I like to call the Christian Pache thing the Mickey Moniak effect, the change of scenery and, kind of maybe getting away from that number one prospect potential hype. But definitely, whatever it is, it's working out. On the night, the Phillies or the Marlins 1 run, 7 hits, no errors. Phillies 4 runs, 11 hits in pitching or the scoring. Bohm would get things going in the third, doubling in Rojas 1-0. Stott in the fourth would knock in Real Muto to make it 2-0. Pache, as you mentioned, with a big single in that fourth inning, making it 3-0. A big 2-run fourth inning, which really kind of was the difference in this game. De La Cruz for the Marlins would get them on the board in the seventh, the only inning that Zack Wheeler even kind of looked human. And then Nick Castellanos with the insurance double in the eighth. Wheeler, 6.5, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 8 strikeouts, 100 pitches. Al, if you're going to win a World Series, the performance you got from Zack Wheeler is just the type of performances you're going to need to win that World Series. Definitely, this is why we pay him that money. And this is why he's the ace in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and not trying to put the cart before the horse in this situation, but something to look at into the future. I mean, next year's his last year in his contract. Yep. Decisions will have to be made, but we'll worry about that when that time comes by. But yeah, I mean, if this is what we're going to see from Zack Wheeler moving forward, things look good for the Phillies. That is having one pitcher, your ace, doing that. Tomorrow will be the telltale. Will Aaron Nola continue to strive as he has over the last few starts? And if you can get 2 good outings from 2 pitchers, sky's the limit for the Phillies at this point. Chris Morris chiming in here. Harper's infield miscue cannot happen moving forward, even though Wheeler should have made that play to first.
That wasn't
Yeah.
that wasn't his miscue. It was Wheeler. Wheeler was caught watching the play. Wheeler should have been breaking the first once he saw where Harper was when he made the play.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Once Harper dove for the ball, he should have broke towards first base.
Yeah, that was
I
not
agree.
Harper's miscue. It was
And
Wheeler.
and I think Zach is well aware of that.
Yeah.
Like that, Zach knew that one run was on him. He could have got out of there without letting up one run. This should have been. Score should have been different, maybe with some runners in scoring position, maybe six runs for the Phillies instead of just the 4. It should have been 6-0 instead of 4-1. But it's who makes the less mistakes. I want to give Tomper some love. I know it's not always, some guys on here don't always do that. Some people don't, not fans of his. I've always been a fan of Tomper. But before I do, I'm also a fan of PhillySportsTrips.com. And you, as a fan, travel. You want to travel with other Philly fans, you go to PhillySportsTrips.com. I don't care if it's an Eagles away game, home game, tailgate, or even this amazing option here, the 2024 London trip. That's right, your fighting Phils are heading to London to take on the New York Mets, June 6th to the 12th. Not the only way, but the best way, the most ideal way is by going to PhillySportsTrips.com. Check it out. Also, they have a couple trips lined up for spring training next year, and I'm sure they'll have some things lined up moving forward. We'll keep you guys up to date on that. So, PhillySportsTrips.com. Check it out. Did you like my segue? I know it sounded like
man, you were the master. I got to give you that. It's a master class in segues. So for those of you who are waiting to get into the podcasting business, you better be taking notes because I sure am.
Big Al segue class.
Yeah, I am.
So give Topper the love he deserves, because if you watch this game, if you kind of like watch it looking down at the whole thing as like one big picture, the Phillies put themselves in the right position to neutralize some of the offensive and defensive components of the Marlins. And what I mean by that is setting the chessboard up correctly. Again, the Pache move with Marsh, that's one of those moves. How they had their guys aligned, how they had the infield aligned when certain players were up, and that comes a lot from the skip. So I know a lot of people are not always in love with him as a skipper, but so far over the last year and a half or whatever it is he's been the Philly skip, you can't the results are there.
Yeah, they are. But you know what, Al? This is one thing we talked about in the illustrious green room, that a stat that's probably going to put me into an early grave. The Phillies on the season this year were 358 for 1,346 with runners in scoring position for about a 266 batting average. Tonight, Al, what do you think they were with runners in scoring position? Take a guess.
Runners in scoring position, I would say 3 for 14, something along those lines.
You're probably reading the box score. That's exactly correct. 3 for 14.
Well, no, I have my stuff written down here, so I did the math in my head, but yeah, 3 for 14 on that one.
Now, listen, I know they've been defying the odds all season long when it comes to this. They've been doing what they got to do. They've been doing enough, and they've been getting the pitching to back them up. I just would not like to live like this anymore. We got to get, when we have situations like that first inning where we have runners on second and third and nobody out, you got to come away with a run. I mean, it's the purest old school baseball in me that just can't live with that. I don't know, Al. Am I a dying breed when it comes to this? Am I driving home a dead point? Is it like, am I speaking Latin? I mean, talk to me. Help me out.
Has it changed? Yes. Are you old school? Yes. Is it frustrating still nonetheless? Yes. The trajectories, launch angles, not just playing for contact anymore. It all has changed, bud. But we're not the only team that's living like this. Yes, we're one of the more bigger outliers. But when you have a team with as many power hitters as we have, these kind of things like strikeouts and stuff like that are, expected. Being at home is a huge plus for them this year. Places where things that they might have struggled with last year, or, think about it, it could be a difference maker being home a little bit more often this year than they were last year. So, yes, it's changed. Yes, I understand the frustration. I wish it was a little different. But if we're looking for perfection, you're watching the wrong game. It's always what I tell people. It's a game where 30% is a good year.
Yeah,
So
no, I get that, and they finished with the season at 266 batting average with under scoring position. I can live with that. 270 be better, but I can live with where they were. But when you watch it in real time, and you're like second and third, nobody out, and the playoffs, come on, man, we got to get at least one run in, and it's just frustrating. But again, it's a 9-inning game. They did strike out 10 times tonight, but they also struck out 10 Marlins. So it all balances out at the end, I guess. And then the end of the day, it's a win, and we're 12 wins away from a world championship. So I guess I got to be happy about that.
Joe, we're going to talk about that in a second. So just one thing here is our boy Steven said that first inning won't fly in the World Series. You're absolutely correct, Steven. Yeah. And that, again, I'm not always trying to compare things to last year, but trying to compare things in the ramping up situation this is one of those kind of things you hope happen, and then they correct themselves over the next couple series that they make their way to the World Series. So, yes, I absolutely agree. That will not fly in any series going forward after this series. They really shouldn't fly after this game. They got lucky that Wheeler was dealing in that situation. If Wheeler was not great, but not even if he was still good, but he let up a couple more runs, it's a tighter game, and we're and the Marlins are well known for these 1-run games and coming back and sneaking out wins. I think they have like 16 on the year. The crazy plus minus for them over the year. So I took a perfectly placed pitch by Okert to Stott to not deliver the. What's it say? The SF?
Sacrifice fly?
Sacrifice fly. Okay. I guess that's what he meant to say, yeah. Ellis is saying one more win. Back to what Joe said. Joe said, love the balk move by Kimbrel. We were talking about this in the green room, and we mentioned that. You said, I've never seen that before. He's done this before. I'm trying to remember the game. It was sometime in the second half of the year where he drops the ball, he makes a move, drops the ball, and literally moves his finger like telling the guy from second to move, get out of my way, go to third. And they said it on the program. He doesn't he likes to change the hand signals when maybe he either agrees or doesn't agree with what the pitch com's coming through. So he just doesn't like that guy on second base watching what he does. So that is why he does it.
I mean, the runner on second, the Josh Bell runner, that was immaterial. It didn't matter. It didn't matter where he was on the base pass. Obviously, the run was immaterial at the time. I just never seen that before. I mean, I've seen it happen like unintentionally. I've seen pitchers drop the ball on the rubber and commit a balk, but I've never seen a pitcher go, yeah, okay, yep, yeah, go.
Yeah, it's like an intentional walk and an intentional balk.
Intentional balk, yeah.
Only in Philly, right? I mean, only in Philly. Chris Moore saying six wins in game ones in the postseason since 2011. That's right. I mean, and talk about a tone setter. I mean, each time they did first game wins, they weren't home last year. So I mean, those are tone setters. This time you're home, and the Marlins are a sneaky, young, managed team. Again, really good at setting up the defense to take away things. It's like Topper kind of copied what they did against them over this year, a little bit. But they have some good hitters. They added some hitters like Josh Bell later in the season, and then their pitching. I mean, remember they don't even have their ace. No Sandy Alcantara for them. He's out. He's probably going to need Tommy John. He might be out next year.
Yep.
So it's interesting, but this would game one. We said it doesn't need to. We're never saying it's a must win, but in this case, momentum swing could be huge, and giving the Marlins a chance at in CVP to feel like they have some sort power over us is never what we want.
No, and I was never on board with them losing this game tonight. They needed to win. Now let's take a look around Major League Baseball because there was some other action going on this first day of the playoffs. The Rangers, in front of 19,000 fans in Tampa, defeated the Rays 4-0. The Twins, which in a game that I watched pretty much the whole thing, beat the Blue Jays 3-1. And then shocker of the day, the Diamondbacks over the Brewers 6-3. 19,000 fans down there in Tropicana Field there, Al.
That garbage pit.
Yeah, does somebody got to wake up the state of Florida, especially the city of Tampa, and let them know their team is in the playoffs? I mean, that's somewhat of a disgrace.
State of Florida has two teams in the playoffs right now. And it's, if this was at Lone Depot Park in Miami, it'd probably be the same thing. I mean, they were saying that tickets for the Phillies game were 500% higher than other games. They're saying you can get NLDS tickets in Atlanta, bought like around like low level seats for like $100.
Amazing.
Milwaukee had tickets for like $25 for
Absolutely.
tonight's game. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But you're not going to get that around here. That's why I use sherrystickets.com. But it's I'm telling you, like it's ridiculous that these teams are even in it. Like that's why they want Philadelphia in it. That's why wouldn't the MLB want it? They always talk about markets. I mean, Miami doesn't deserve to be here. I'm not saying they don't deserve from playing, but they just from a market they don't deserve to be here. God, could you imagine the parade of the Marlins won the World Series? All 17 people
down South Beach.
Yeah, it's just gonna be another beach day for them. That's all it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's all it would be. All right, Al, let's focus our attention now on game 2 because we do still have a series to play tomorrow night. The Phillies will go for the series sweep and the win. Aaron Nola. We talked about this in the green room too. Nola coming off of a very inconsistent contract year season, but he gets a second chance at redemption. Not only for himself, maybe as a Philly next year, but kind of promote himself to other clubs if that's the case. Going for the in front of the home crowd. If we ever needed to see Aaron Nola, tomorrow is the day. Would you not agree?
Oh, absolutely. Right. For him and for us, like you said. It's a contract year. If it's with us, if it's with another team, it's a contract year for him. We talked about this earlier. Like I said, it's the difference between him being a $12 million pitcher or being ace-like paid by somebody else. Ain't going to be here, but ace-like paid somewhere. And what can erase 162 games away of mediocrity? A stellar month of October.
Yeah. No, and again, we talked about this. I remember the game 2 in St. Louis last year. Nola was like 2017 Nola in that game, and I have not seen him pitch like that since. That's what I need to see tomorrow night at Citizens Bank Park. I need that Aaron Nola that pitched game 2 of the Cardinals series last year.
Steve mentions real quick about tonight. He wonder what Dusty learned from tonight. I mean, Dusty held up Kyle Schwarber. Dusty got not listened to by Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper scored, which gave him that little bit of buffer right there. I think we both agree that he made the right call holding up Schwarber. I think he was dead to rights. It was kind of like you referred to, it's kind of a lazy pop-up to right field. And you have 3 good outfielders for the Marlins. So I feel it was the right move. It would have been way too close for comfort.
If anybody but Schwarber was on third base, I probably would have sent him. But at that moment, in the first inning, there was, and Rock said it, he's obviously it didn't work out the way we wanted it. At the time, they had runners on second and third, and it would have been 1 out. You could have risked having a runner on second and 2 outs at that point. So I get you play the odds at that point, but yeah, no, I agree. I think it was the right call.
Yeah, Chris is saying Braxton Garrett pitching for the Marlins, another lefty. They're going to throw all the lefties they can because the power hitters in this team, that's lefties. That's what they do. Steve's saying, don't think the MLB didn't do their market research on who to show in primetime. Oh, Steve, absolutely. I mean, you don't put all 3 games at 8 o'clock by accident. You know what I mean? Like, you give, like, if you were really about mixing it up, like if there was like a New York team in here somewhere, I'm sure they would have hit the 8 o'clock marker somewhere. But yeah, no, I mean, in the National League, I mean, like, let's be honest, look around the National League. There's no Braves playing, which to me is not even that big of a market. There's no LA playing. So you got Milwaukee and Arizona. Okay, and then you have Miami coming up to Philly, and I'm sure there's plenty of Miami fans in the Philadelphia. All those transplant Miami fans. Forget them. All year I've hoped Nola and Wheeler were pacing themselves to have more gas for this postseason. Want the payday, Nola? Now's the time to bring it home. Yep. Good point, Steve. And Matty B, I ask you the question then. A lot of things Tomper was questioned about, like pulling not last season, but I'm talking about throughout the season, pulling guys maybe when they didn't really need to be pulled. Looked like they had plenty left, to go, left them another inning or whatever. Maybe at times have cost them a game or made things tighter than it should have been. Do you think it was this pace after what happened after Nola and Wheeler just seemed a little gassed come the postseason last year, especially later into the postseason?
I mean, that could be something, but unfortunately, when you're speaking of Nola directly, to me, I can't get past the fourth inning bugaboo, the middle innings where he just kind of just falls apart. And it started with game one of the season. It really has been a theme of his all year. So I don't know if that's you might have something there, but I just can't see past the middle inning problems that Nola has specifically. I think Wheeler, maybe to a certain extent, is that case. But with Nola, you just can't get past. I can't get past the middle inning problems that he has, and especially tomorrow, definitely gonna be tuned in for that third, fourth, and fifth inning. I definitely want to see him try to navigate that. But I think Steven might be onto something there.
And I heard that they did some tweaking with Nola, and that's why we saw some improvement. Able to hit a couple more bloopers, trying to keep the contact down, and just changing his style a little bit, changing his stance a little bit, just changing his grip. Even they said a little bit in certain ways, and I mean, right now it paid off a little bit. We saw that when they talked about Christopher Sanchez early on when they moved him into the fifth starter, and it paid off for him. So let's hope it continues to pay off. So guys, we're here doing the post game. Phillies win, take the first game. So tomorrow will be the second game, same time, 8:00 Wednesday. This is the lineup here for EOP Sports. A little different than what you're used to seeing because we are flexing around this wild card run for the Phillies. So of course tomorrow, Wednesday, will be a little different. 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. It's going to look roughly about the same, except you'll see the attacking third at the 6 o'clock spot tomorrow instead of their normal Thursday night, because if there is a third game, we don't want to interrupt that. But the Fightins final will be after, again, as usual. This time, it'll be brought to you by Pat and Mike. So a little PM in the AM post-game show. It always expected to be funny. And the rest of the week is lined up. So the Phillies, fingers crossed, we'll also have a post game come Saturday, starting their first game in the division or the divisional series, and plenty of post game, pre-game, and halftime action with the Eagles Rams coming up. So plenty of things going on at EOP, just flexing for this playoffs run. It'd be criminal if you missed out on any of it here at EOP. And speaking of criminal, if you get yourself situated in a bad way, stuck with some criminal law issues, personal injury issues, life-changing workers' comp or motor vehicle accidents, you need the man with the plan. The man's going to fight for your rights, David R. Cherry. He is that man at cherryinjurylaw.com, or call him simply at 610-565-0300. Again, 610-565-0300. David R. Cherry is the man for all your workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, and criminal law needs. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com.
Now, Al, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you know what? I'm Matty B, and I usually do that. There is potential, based on what has happened tonight, that the Phillies could find themselves Saturday and Sunday in Los Angeles alongside another Philadelphia sports team, the Eagles. Does Vince at Phillies Sports Trip throw together a Phillies sports trip out to L.A. to go along with his Rams trip? I mean, could he throw something in that last minute?
I can't speak for him. I can message him, see if there's a plan. Possibility, maybe as if you're already going out there, you can add on the tickets. Yeah. But he did that in Houston, because remember last year that Thursday night in Houston was at the same time that the Phillies were in Houston for the World Series, so they did work something out like that. Joe Howell wants to know: does Weston Wilson play Game 2?
No, barring an injury. No, come on, listen. What are we doing here? I get it.
I think Weston Wilson may pinch hit if they're down to nobody. He may run the bases for Schwarber at the end, go in defensively maybe somewhere if there's a need for it. But I don't think you guys are going to see too much Weston Wilson in this. Hopefully, we're not in that kind of need that we need to pull Weston Wilson. Let's put it that way.
I mean, let's get through.
I can be honest with you. Weston Wilson could definitely be a future key cog in the Phillies if he continues to play the way he's been playing.
He's a third baseman, right? That's his position.
He's really a utility guy. I mean, he's been all over the field. He's played in the left field too, I believe, a little bit at times. But
Yeah, let's get through Edmundo Sosa before we get to Weston Wilson. All right, I mean, I get it. He's a good story.
Would you go Sosa over Wilson?
Oh my God!
Or depending on the matchup, I guess.
No, Sosa's got playoff experience. I mean, he almost hit a home run in Game 6 last year. So
if that thing went about 5 more feet,
yeah,
we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say about that.
It's heartbreaking.
Well, who would go to Game 1 in the division series if we sweep the Marlins? It would be
Wheeler.
Wheeler would have enough rest. I mean, tonight's Tuesday. That'd be Saturday.
Yeah,
it's enough rest for him.
Yeah.
It's 5 days. He's got it. This is all lined up so he could start Game 1.
Yeah, Scotty Wheeler.
Yeah, and if they do, I'm trying again not to look past it, but I mean, even if they don't beat the Marlins, if they have to go 3 games to beat the Marlins, it's still going to be Wheeler. It's just who's going to pitch Game 3 would be the question.
Yeah,
no question. Nola must pitch to more weak contact to the back end of his career, almost who projected to be by the scouts in 2014. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like it kind of like Bryce Harper. I know his was more due to injury, but maybe that first base extends his career, his ability to play another year or 2. Well, pitchers have to do that. I mean, Jamie Moyer was able to throw 60 miles per hour, but somehow stay in the major leagues by just doing weak contact hitting, and that's what they kind of did. That's what Topper talked about today, or I think it was today. And during his interview. So if that's what we want, I mean, that's the problem that's the problem coming up at the 4th inning is the contact he was making. He was letting too many long balls go or didn't bounce off the walls. The weak contact comes into play. I would rather, in my head, like for longevity standpoint, wouldn't you rather be a weak contact guy? You could literally get out of an inning in 5 pitches if you do it really good. I mean, and you see it from Wheeler. I mean, Wheeler, even though he had 8 strikeouts, he had plenty of weak contact. Kept this game right in front of him. Let's see, Walt's chiming in. Glad Reese only gets to throw out a pitch.
Well, it's funny because Walter and everybody else, you guys might not have caught this, but Rhys Hoskins has been added to the 5-player reserve of the Phillies. So he's actually on his way to Clearwater right now to potentially be in the mix to be called in.
But they would have to be pretty much in the World Series.
Yeah, but he's been added. He's on that. He's one of the 5 that they're going to keep in reserve for a potential call-up. So listen, about the Rhys Hoskins thing, and I want to comment about Steven's thing about Aaron Nola too, but I've never seen an active player throughout the first pitch before. I don't know how I feel about that. I could have thought about maybe 100 more people that would have maybe jazzed up the crowd a little bit more. What did you feel about Rhys Hoskins throwing out the first pitch tonight, Al?
I mean, I take it or leave it. It really didn't make a world of a difference. Throwing out the first pitch to me is cool, but like it doesn't. I mean, we saw it later in the postseason. Like Jason Kelsey came and did it, and a whole thing where he's picking up the Fanatic and hugging him. That gets the juices going. But I think for a Game 1 of the wild card series, I think Rhys Hoskins is a good one. Everybody, the funny thing is, all these people are cheering Rhys Hoskins, just loving on Rhys Hoskins. Are probably the same people who are ready to sell him for a bag of balls. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be on the roster this year to begin with before he even hurt himself in spring training.
I'm mad that he was still here when the spring training started. Actually,
I mean, unfortunately, his buddy pretty much took his job from him. I think Bryce Harper is the first baseman of the future for the Phillies.
I do too, especially with the fact that we're going to probably have to go find another number 2 in the offseason. So yeah, they're going to need that money. But about Nola. Listen, the thing with Nola is that he flirts too much with the middle of the plate. He messes around with the middle of the plate too much, and he's too inconsistent with it. He's got good stuff, but he doesn't trust it on the outside. He goes inside too much, and it's always elevated, and it always costs him. So once he learns to trust his stuff, then he becomes that soft contact hitter. But right now, he doesn't trust himself to be that way. That's why he goes inside too much, in my opinion.
Dave, I see what you're saying, and I think it's all a matter of how he's going to be feeling coming Game 1 and where they're at and who the pitching matchup is. Maybe they do throw a third person. Maybe it's Ranger. Maybe it's Taiwan.
Playoffs, man. He was throwing 90 miles an hour because of adrenaline. You don't think he couldn't keep him off the mound on the game one of the
I mean, I think he does, because don't forget, it's also a weird turnaround because it's Saturday and then they don't play again until Monday, so they're off Sunday. So like, it's funny. The Eagles could go. Some Eagles could go to the if they're in LA, could go to the Phillies game on Saturday, and some Phillies can go to the Eagles game on Sunday.
Like the Flyers were in attendance tonight at the Phillies game. So.
Yeah, Scott Lawton was there. Who else was there?
Travis Konechny and was it maybe not sure. It was Konechny, Lawton, and Farabee, maybe I want to say.
Let's see, I have it right here. Scott Lawton, Travis Sanheim.
Oh, Sanheim, okay.
And Konechny.
So 2 Flyers and a half Flyer.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, I agree with Matty on this one. It's only 4 days. It really, I guess, depends on how he feels. Again, Tom Perl will have to make that decision. It's kind of early. Do you? But it is the Braves or it is the Dodgers. So
playoffs.
It's the playoffs. I mean, if it was 3 days, probably not. 4 days, I think it's really depends on how he feels.
He's the ace. Be an ace. Get out there and pitch.
At least it's better than Steven as a first pitch. I guess is that this
Stephen A?
Stephen A's first pitch. Oh, okay.
No, who did Stephen A throw out a first pitch at the Phillies game recently?
Yeah, I forget.
Really?
Who it was. Yeah.
Oof.
The Boston Red Sox first pitch to the cameraman's testes was the best. No, the all-time bad first pitch was the Phillies allowing a Mets fan to come up and throw. That's when I care about who's throwing out the first pitch more than anything.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I saw one of the best posts today. My buddy Chris Holbrooks, he put out a post. He goes, I didn't see any Padres or Yankees or Red Sox games on today. So are they on Apple TV or something? I mean, no Mets and no Yankees. New York fans must be going nuts that they don't even have a chance for the postseason. Yeah, 2 Florida teams, but no New York teams. Who would have thought?
Yeah, but you mentioned the major markets definitely suffered this postseason. It's not really. I guess Philadelphia probably is the biggest market right now in the playoffs.
They couldn't write a script good enough to get them in here, huh?
It's not.
So yeah, we covered most of the things. The hold up of Schwarber, we talked about Harbor. Do you think Dusty Wafton gets upset about that, or or is it just like will you just let it go?
Well, it depends on the clubhouse that Topper runs in. Obviously, it's a player-friendly clubhouse. I imagine there might be some conversations about it. I don't know. You got to trust your veterans at sometimes, and I honestly don't know why Wafman would have held him up. I was thinking send him all the way. I mean, it's Harper moves well. I mean, I don't know. There might be a conversation about it, but I don't think there's anything really going to come from it.
No, I mean it would be interesting. I don't think there's no conversation, but I just wonder if he's just like, oh, I guess nobody's listening to me tonight.
What happens, man?
Yeah.
Maybe Harper was sitting in the dugout going, "Why didn't you send Schwarber?" I tell you what, man. If it's me out there, I'm going through. I don't care what he does. I don't know. Maybe he was sort of revenge. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but again, just looking at the video, look how that guy, threw that ball and it was right on the line. I think Schwarber's dead to rights on that one. It's Steve saying it's really amazing that Nolan Wheeler have gone all the way to November and are back here generally themselves and back in the postseason. Going to November 2nd, 2 years would be amazing. Yeah, no, it would be. But it would be interesting off-season moves for them as well. Mike Laro's checking in. Great game, boys. Can't wait for tomorrow. That's right. The man, Mike Laro, will be joined by his co-host, which if you guys have ever watched PM and AM, is something that Pat forgets the term to use with Mike. His co-host, Pat, will be on for the post game, so it's going to be amusing, trust me, and hopefully them celebrating a quick 2-game sweep and give the Phillies a couple days off rest until Saturday until they take on either the Dodgers or the Braves. Let's hope that's where it goes, but we'll find out. If it goes 3, I can see Sanchez pitching game 3 in this series.
Walker. That's what we brought Walker here for.
Dave, it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard you say, but it's probably unlikely. But Sanchez is one of the better pitchers in the last second half of the season, next to Wheeler, probably consistently, I should say.
Here's my thing. I see Ranger coming out of the pen tomorrow if Nola gets in trouble. Early. Nola gets in trouble early. I see Ranger coming out of the pen.
Or even Sanchez, depending on how early that is. I can see that happening.
I see Ranger Suarez coming out.
I guess that's Nikki. Nikki Bass with the bird tonight was funny. So yeah, I tweeted out, did Nick Castellanos just flip the bird? So apparently they talked about it coming back out of the commercial.
Yeah.
It was his ring finger, and this is apparently like a thing that guys do. Like pretty much put a ring on. I want to win the championship. I want to win a ring, because real quick, because it was from behind, and they flashed away from it because they probably thought at first the camera was like, oh, yeah, nope, that's him flipping the bird. And I even tweeted, I'm like, did Nick Castellanos just flip the bird? That's amazing.
I want my ring.
Yeah, the ring finger was a good one. I just hope it's not something that's going to catch on, though. It would be a little annoying if they do that all the time. I get a little, being a baseball fan, a sports fan, superstitions are hard to get past. And I try to be better than them, but like those kind of things are things that bother me a little bit, because you have a good hit, and then you're going to be signaling that you're going to win the championship in one game, especially game one of the wild card. It's a little weird to me, but whatever, man. That this team is juiced and gelling. We talked about this last year. We talked about this when they got hot in June this year. This team is gelling, and they continue to gel. And the one thing I take that really makes me feel confident in this team, at least into this series and hopefully down further, is the team has been fairly consistent throughout since August, like mid-August, from the batting standpoint.
Yeah, I'll give it to them.
I mean, plenty of games that could have been pitched better, but plenty of games where they were scoring 4+ runs. I mean, this team was doing what it's supposed to do. It was made not to pitch your way out of problems. It was made to bat your way out of problems. But if you can get pitching outings like we saw consistently through ZACK, and hopefully through Nola and whoever else is going to be joining him in the rotation, especially into the later rounds, it's going to be exciting, boys. It's going to be very exciting.
The 7 home runs in August didn't help things either, or didn't hurt things either. So, but unlike you, Al, and we talked about this too, you seem to be trying to squeeze every bit of 2022 out of this. And I get where you're going with this. I really do.
Can't help but to compare.
I don't see it. The Phillies are not the underdogs here. The Phillies are the defending National League champions. They are the
hunted underdogs.
They're the hunted. So
I made a joke tweet. Are you going to really roast me over the joke tweet?
No,
I said it's because of the season series with the Marlins. We were 6-7.
Yeah.
So technically they won it. So technically in this series we're the underdog.
No, I think you're pulling anything you can to recapture the mojo from 22.
Well, in Philly alone, not just about the Phillies, but in 2017 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, we were considered underdogs in the first seed. Yeah. People were saying like, oh, well, they might not even they might not get the first round bye last year with the 2022 Eagles, and until they started walloping teams, they felt like, oh, we could be underdogs. I mean, it's just like it's something that Philly plays up because it's like this mentality that we have. It was me just more playing off that joke.
But there's nothing to pull from that in my opinion. In this case, the Phillies are they are literally the defending National League champions. So everyone's going to send them their best at the Phillies, and they did what champions do tonight. They answered the bell, and they put down a lesser opponent, at least for tonight. Now they have an opportunity to do it again tomorrow. So I get where you're going with it, but I'm going to take a different road. This is how champions play, and tonight that's how the Phillies handled their business. It wasn't pretty, and it hasn't been pretty for the last 2 seasons, but they're getting the wins, and I couldn't be happier. And we're, as I said, 12 games away from a world championship. So.
The other thing I wanted to bring up with you, and I have it written down here, is the continued, not just the gelling, but confidence this team has.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the driving force going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's and you mentioned it from some unlikely sources. I mean, the Alec Bohms and the Bryson Stotts, just to name 2 people that are always in conversations, where they've come and the steps they've taken. And I don't downplay the experience from 2022 that this team went through in the playoffs. It's going to come into play as well this year. That's going to add to their confidence as a group. And then, add in that gelling and that chemistry, as you said. But absolutely, it doesn't seem like anything phases them. And they go about their business with their heads down. And that's what champions do. Al, I got a question for you. I was thinking about it today, and this is not a question that necessarily should be answered or today. But if you had to choose a Phillies MVP, who is it this year?
Oh, you mean for the regular season?
Yeah, who is it?
That is a good one, and it might surprise you. Um, I'll give Trey Turner the Comeback Player of the Year award.
Comeback of the season of the award.
Yeah, Comeback Season Player of the Season or whatever it is.
Award.
This might not be what everybody agrees with, but if you look up and down this lineup, and you look at guys who were consistent, who've made huge strides, it would be close for me to say Nick Castellanos because he really was consistent and he carried this team a lot. But I'm actually going to go with who I believe is Mr. Bryson Stott. Yeah. Bryson Stott, if you said I'll pick for just the regular season, talk about consistency, being clutch. I mean, he was the best two-strike hitter on the team. Bohm is a pretty close runner-up because he's Captain Consistent, who, again, a guy who I feel gets kind of a little overshadowed by your Turners, your Schwarbers, your Harpers, that kind of stuff. But Bryson Stott, he started off, he beat, who was it? Puddinghead Jones's record with the Phillies in the beginning of the season. He has been consistent. And anytime he had a drought, I was like, he's had a 15 at-bat drought. It's like 3 games, 4 games top. Get over it. I love when people get so upset because I always give Pat a hard time. He's like, he's 0-16. I'm like, that's 4 games, bro. Chill. Like it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? When he's 0 for 14 games, we'll talk. That's when you start getting worried. But no, Bryson Stott, man. Here's a guy that I knew had great potential. Couldn't tell you. I'm going to sit here and tell you that I thought he had the potential to be the best, become maybe a possible all-star and all that kind of stuff. Bryson Stott, great future ahead of him. Defensively, he was really good last year, huge this year. Offensively, big component. And talk about just being clutch. And like we always talk about the young guys, not being too big. He's had to step up. You had Bryce on the men in the beginning of the season. You had Kyle struggling all the way through May as usual. Trey, we know that story. We said it a bunch of times. JT's had plenty of cold streaks. And then, there's kind of been Brandon Marsh has been pretty good, but he's had his ups and downs. But captain consistency, really good player of the future for the Phillies, Bryson Stott.
Absolutely. Let's not compare him to Chase Utley quite yet. Let's stop that. But I know
did I say that?
You didn't do that.
No, I didn't do that.
People have known that. But see, my point to that is I think there's about 3 or 4 players you can make a legit argument for to be the Phillies MVP. And that to me is the big difference between 22 and 23. There's consistency wrapped around in this inconsistency. And that's what I think might be the X factor. And then maybe taking it the rest of the way this year. So that's what gives me a really good feeling about this postseason.
Tonight's Rojas at bat stemmed Luzardo momentum, and he gained momentum. He gained early. Okay, I don't know if he stemmed or stymied. I don't know. He was going with that one. I mean, Luzardo. I think I tweeted out earlier. I gave out the matchup with those two, and Luzardo. I mean, he was a 3-0 against the Phillies this year for his starts, and he had a 3.65 ERA with 14 strikeouts, and 2 appearances against the Phillies this year. And the Phillies is a very big left-handed bats, and this was an easy 1-0 game.
Yeah,
I really thought that was going to be 1 to 2-0. I mean, that's what I'm sitting there going, 4. They really broke it open in that one, but I really had this as a 1-2-1 game, 1-0 game, 2-0 game. Like I really didn't see it going more than 2 to 3 runs tops. So, I think that the moment kind of was. I think being in South Philly, the way this stadium was, and I think the moment for the Marlins, they've not prepared for this. You got a lot of young guys who have not been in this situation.
Yeah, and the way I looked at Luzardo tonight was the Phillies really never let him get comfortable. I mean, he only lasted 4 innings, and he pitched 90 pitches in those 4 innings. That's the Phillies working counts, and that's the Phillies making that pitcher feel uncomfortable. 8 hits, 3 earned runs. So kudos to Phillies hitters tonight, because I don't think they ever let Luzardo settle in, and that's how you got to do it. That's how you
I
chase them.
mean, they almost allowed him to get a little momentum by that first inning.
Yeah.
By let him get out of a pinch, because they got out of the pinch in that second and third inning. Really was kind of the best 2 innings I think he had pitching tonight. So kudos to the Phillies for not lulling into that, allowing them to we'll just get to the bullpen and maybe that we'll get some love there. No, they kept grinding at bats with them.
Yeah.
I think the key improvement, Matty B, and Nick Castellanos was a big one over the year, but even moving forward, is the patience. This patience and grinding out bats across the board has been huge for this Phillies, and I think will be a difference maker moving forward.
Yeah, Harper had a really bad first at bat, swung at everything outside, but then he settled in. But I think all in general, they were really patient, and the strike zone was ever changing tonight. I mean, the strike zone wasn't the most consistent. There was, I think Wheeler got a few calls because he was so around the plate, and that has a tendency to happen when pitchers are that close to the plate. They're going to get those close calls, but.
And I give a little that to JT as well. He really was able to paint the strike zone with his glove, because part of it's selling it, because he's selling it to the ump a lot. And let's be honest, his stuff was nasty tonight too. It wasn't he wasn't just throwing heat and gassing people. He was throwing some nasty cutters and stuff like that. That he was throwing people off, sliders that he was throwing people off. He was not easy to hit tonight. That was for sure.
He was. It was the pitching.
Dave bringing back up. Love how Harper listens to his third base coach. Again, he scored. He made the right decision. Do you blame the guy for making the right decision? No. I mean, it does help you with that confidence. It does help you with with Kimbrel pitching the ninth. Tell me that having that little bit of leeway doesn't make him feel a little better when Bell hit that double. Huge. So, I mean, Bryce was quiet up until that moment, but it more than just a run occurred there. It gave confidence and allowed the guys to relax and not feel so uptight. So I'm not going to ride him on it. And I'm sure Dusty Walton is probably over it as well. Mark's chiming in here. Mark Pearson said they pitched around Harper big time in the first couple of bats. They more reliable at bats behind Harper. Teams aren't afraid of JT this year. So,
JT made some solid contact tonight, though. I got to give JT credit. He made some solid contact.
He's struggling. He can't. Yeah, well, he struggled at home. I mean, we talked about this. I tweeted out a couple weeks ago how it was like 100-point difference on his ERA, on his batting average, from home to away. Except for the last couple of weeks, he really did gather it up. So hopefully this postseason juice starts flowing through the veins for him. But, I mean, let me ask you that question. Were you a little surprised? I mean, it was a little something we didn't talk about because the whole Brandon Marsh conversation kind of overtook that, him not making the starting lineup tonight. But Bryce Harper in another 4-hole. I mean, right move, right?
No, absolutely the right move. I think it should have been that way. I like that move. You got to ride the hot hands, and Bryce Harper is really rounding in the form. And what do you have, a historic postseason last season? Why not? You got to go with the hot hand, and I absolutely agree with that. As far as JT, it's a new season, and hell, Kyle Schwarber's batting 250 right now. I mean, take a snapshot of that. So it's a new season right now. So
I don't know if Kyle. We don't want to tell Kyle that he might not perform as well. I mean, they were even making jokes. Kyle Schwarber starts off with a leadoff single. Like we didn't know he hit singles. Like
I mean, he's batting 250. So it's a new season. We got to learn from the past, and we got to apply the new season here. So JT's got to come.
Matty B. Where's this Matty B? Like.
Well, because this is the way you have to look at this postseason, and I said this going into the playoffs when I was finishing up with the final for the regular season. They got a shot, but they got to learn from their mistakes, and they got to apply some different things, and they got to go different ways. I can't abide by a guy who leads off batting 198 or 187. I can't. But it's a new season. He has an opportunity to correct that. Same thing with Aaron Nola. He has an opportunity to correct his inconsistencies. They all do, and you got to give him the opportunity because that's all we can do. You can't play. You can't win if you don't play. So we got to do what we got to do. And tonight's a good start. It really is.
Yeah. Wade Miller saying great win. Let's finish the fish tomorrow. Yeah, let's gut those fish tomorrow. Set them packing. Let them enjoy a couple days of postseason. They'll be in obscurity for another 5 years. But they have a good young team. I'm just making that joke for a bit, but they do have a good young team. Could be interesting to see how this division moves forward. The explosion of Wheeler sinker was elite tonight, absolutely elite, and Mets fans have to watch it and take it. Yeah, absolutely. Waltham cost the Phillies a run in the first inning and a second in the eighth. Dusty's a good coach, but bad at third. Listen, hindsight right now, Mark, from the looks of it, from the TV angles, they showed it quite a few times. I went on Twitter. They had some other TV angles. We had Rock on earlier who was at the stadium. Everybody felt that there's a good chance Kyle is not there's a good chance Kyle's thrown out, and it could be the difference maker in a game there. So I think he made the right call holding up Kyle in this situation. So he's 1-1 tonight.
In the eighth, he scored. So it didn't cost him a run in the eighth.
I mean, it didn't cost him a run. He could have cost him a run if Bryce listened to him. I always thought Dusty and not Kapler should have taken over in 2017. He knew what made the players tick. Water under the bridge now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people actually, he was my guy. I thought they were going to bring in before Gabe. I really didn't even know who Gabe Kapler was as a coach at that point. So I was a little shocked now, but he's not coach anywhere right now.
Oh, guess who's going to interview for the Mets job?
Gabe Kapler. Please tell me Gabe Kapler.
No Girardi.
I'm okay with that. I hope he brings his binder with him too.
Well, that would be Gabe Kapler too. But no, it's Girardi. I heard that today.
Totally agree with you guys. Postseason is a whole different story. Yeah. I mean, it's a clean slate. I mean, Matty B said himself, and I'm a little shocked. It's not typical Matty B cleaning the slate as easily as he has, but it is. This is a whole new thing. You do look back a little bit for comparisons. You do look back to see what they can do. But you really, the furthest I really look back is August at most. And let's be honest, this August, September, especially this September, has been a huge upgrade from what they had last year, but also just like you said, Matty, just a super consistent 6 weeks leading up to this. So that's what you got to lead from. But what they did in June means absolutely nothing right now. Even though they had a really good June, the stanky play that they had in May means absolutely nothing right now. The only way those things mean anything is if they don't make the postseason. So
yeah, it's true. You got it. And baseball's 162 games. You taught me that yourself, Al. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And when you get to this point, I watched this throughout sports my entire life. Danny Barreras. I'll use a hockey terminology here. His first year with the Flyers was amazing all season long, but then by his second or third season, he wasn't really that good in the postseason. But come April, or in the regular season, he was Mr. Playoffs. And that's kind of how sometimes it goes like that. You got to just ride the wave sometimes, and we have no other choice. This is the cards we got. We got to play.
Yeah, Steve said here we were always waiting for the other shoe to drop tonight, and it just never happened. Here's keeping up the trend. Mark's jumping in. Hope Girardi gets the job for the Mets. Hope Girardi's a meta manager for the next 2 years. So guys, just a kind of little up. So this format is what you're going to pretty much be seeing from EOP Sports moving forward into the postseason, hopefully a World Series parade. But you're going to have this format. It'll be me, Matt, Mike, Pat, and some sort of combination of such. Hopefully we'll have Rock joining us. I will hopefully next series be down at least for a game or two at Citizens Bank Park as well. So I'll be chiming in for you guys from there, hopefully, and we can, really just be the guide, be your companions through the Phillies postseason in 2023. So guys, buckle up. It's going to be a good time. Also, reminder that Clear the Ice for all you hockey fans, all you Flyers fans. Clear the Ice, the post-game show will be coming soon once the Flyers season starts, which is next week, right? No, 10 days from now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, soon. So we'll have that and coverage, all over that. Articles written for that. There'll be articles for every Phillies post game coming out from here at EOPsports.com. Please check it out. Please follow us on all social media. If you are watching now, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever it is, all you out there, please subscribe, follow, because we really enjoy the interactions. What makes these post games fun? We want the anger, we want the happiness, we want everybody's thoughts. Let's see. Alz equals Eskin on the sidelines. No, I'm no Howard, but if I'm down there, you might see Howard now and then. He pops in. He's like a gypsy in the press box. He's here, he's gone. He's here, he's gone. Go Phils. Thanks, Phil. 12 more wins to go. Yeah, Mark, absolutely. Matty B, any parting words, parting shots, parting anything?
Nah, we just got to get it done tomorrow. Nola's got to come out and give us what he's got. Give us the best that he's got. Ride that adrenaline. Ride the home crowd. I think Nola, did he pitch? What? He had one home game last postseason. He pitched mainly on the road, so maybe he'll benefit better with home cooking. So I don't know. I need Aaron Nola. I really do. I think he's the key to this whole thing this year. I really do.
I think it's very. I think him being. We know what Wheeler can be. We know what Nola should be, but may not be. Like, that's the question. So if to be or not to be, if he is the Nola who we know he can be, then yes, huge difference maker going forward. Good night, Steve. Have a good night. And other than that, like I said, go Phils. Let's hopefully they lock this up tomorrow, like Matty B said, and just look forward to the next. I hate looking forward, but it would be nice to be able to, in 24 hours, look forward. So like I said, tomorrow night, guys, game 2 will be Pat and Mike for the post-game show. Game 3, if needed, hopefully not, but I will be back with Mike, but hopefully me and Mike get the night off and prepare for the NLDS. If you guys want to get down to the game, I mean, tickets are hard to come by, and I keep telling you guys that this is no joke. I'm telling you, go to sherrystickets.com. There is no hidden fees. I don't know how many times the other places you can use will have hidden fees. You'll go to checkout. You might look on the screen side by side and say, oh, their prices are a little less than Sherry's tickets. Go to checkout. Go all the way to checkout and tell me if I'm wrong. Because I guarantee you I will not be wrong. And you'll save an additional 10% off at sherrystickets.com by using that great promo code EOP10. Don't forget Cherry Injury Law for your workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, and criminal law needs. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com or call David Archerry directly at 610-565-0300. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. Philly sports trips, guys, I tell you this all the time. Just traveling, if it was a bus trip to Washington, if it's a flight to LA, whatever it is amazing. It's not, and I always say it's not just the transportation, it's not just the ticket, it's not just the food, it's everything. It's the experience, it's the former players that come along with you. Philly Sports Trips does it best. I can say that not just because they're a sponsor, because I have partaken in numerous tailgates, in numerous trips with them, and they are a great partner here at EOP Sports. Check them out, phillysportstrips.com. Other than that, I'm done.
Well, I'm done too, but we got to hear from one more person there, Al. Why, of course, when you do the post game with me, we got to hear from one more guy, Harry the K,